Ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, Like working hard but not really getting anywhere.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, it's like you're missing a piece of the puzzle when it comes to effectiveness.
Right, and it's so easy to get caught up in those quick fix solutions.
Oh, totally. All those productivity hacks, they
Mhm.
only seem to work for so long.
Exactly.
What if real change?
Well,
What if it takes a deeper shift, something more fundamental?
that's exactly what we're diving into today.
We're ditching the surface level stuff and really going deep with Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
This book, it's not about those superficial tricks.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding the principles that really shape our lives, our work,
Yeah.
everything.
What I find so fascinating about Covey's approach is he doesn't just give you a to-do list.
He doesn't.
He starts with the foundation.
With your paradigms.
Paradigms, okay.
Yeah, think of them like mental maps.
Right.
The maps we use to navigate life.
So how do paradigms play into, this whole effectiveness thing?
Well, imagine trying to use a map of Detroit
Okay.
to find your way around Chicago.
Right.
You could have the best car in the world, the clearest directions, but
You'd be lost.
you'd be completely lost. And Covey argues that a lot of us, we're trying to navigate life with the wrong maps.
We're using the wrong maps. Wow.
Yeah, we might be operating on outdated beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
assumptions that are holding us back.
Without us even realizing it.
Exactly. And Covey's own journey to understanding this is fascinating. He talks about this time when his son was struggling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in school, academically and socially.
Mm.
And Covey, he was already a successful guy at this point.
Yeah.
Tried everything he could think of to
Well,
help.
what did he try?
Positive reinforcement, encouragement, you name it. But nothing seemed to work.
It makes you wonder what he was missing.
It was a real light bulb moment for him, you see, because he realized that he'd been coming at it from what he calls the personality ethic.
Personality ethic. Okay.
This focus on outward techniques, social image, trying to manipulate situations to get what you want.
So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a deeper wound, right?
Exactly. And while those personality skills, they can be useful,
Yeah.
Covey argues that they're really secondary
True.
to the character ethic.
Okay, so what's the character ethic about?
It's about focusing on your core. Things like integrity, humility, courage, fairness.
The big ones.
The big ones, those are the true foundation for effectiveness and lasting happiness.
It's interesting, right? So many self-help books out there, they seem to focus on that outer stuff. But Covey's saying real change.
It has to start internally.
It has to start from within.
Exactly, and this is where he introduces this metaphor. I think it's really insightful.
Okay, I love a good metaphor.
The PPC balance.
PPC balance, okay.
Imagine a farmer, right? He stumbles upon this goose
Right.
that lays golden eggs.
Golden eggs, whoa. Who wouldn't be excited about that?
Right, free golden eggs. But here's the thing.
What happens?
The farmer, he gets greedy, impatient. He wants all the golden eggs now.
Oh no, don't tell me.
So he kills the goose.
He killed the goose that lays the golden eggs.
He did.
Talk about short-sighted, oh my gosh.
Covey says we do this in our own lives all the time.
Really?
We're so focused on those golden eggs, those immediate results, those quick wins, that we neglect the goose.
The goose.
Which represents our capacity to produce those results in the first place.
Okay, so P is for...
Production, the golden eggs.
And PC.
Production capability, the goose.
I see it, yeah. I'm starting to see how this applies to everyday life already.
Oh, absolutely. Let me give you an example.
Okay, please.
Think about someone who's constantly chasing promotions at work.
Yeah.
Laser focused on climbing that ladder.
Right, okay?
Those are their golden eggs.
Right.
But they're not developing the skills and the expertise they'll need to actually succeed at a higher level.
So they're neglecting the goose.
They're neglecting the very thing that will allow them to keep producing those golden eggs.
Wow, that's such a good example. So it's really about playing the long game.
Exactly.
Investing in yourself.
Building that capacity.
Yeah, for sustained success.
And this is where Covey's first habit comes in. Be proactive.
Okay, be proactive. Now, that sounds simple enough, but I feel like it's more than just, taking initiative or staying busy.
It's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you are the programmer of your own life.
Okay, I like that. Break that down for me. What does it really mean to be proactive in, like, the Covey sense of the word? So we've got this powerful idea, right, of being proactive. Like, we're the programmers of our own lives.
It's a real game changer when you embrace it.
Yeah, but how do we actually, put that into practice?
It's not always easy.
Right. How do we break free from those, like, those reactive patterns and step into that proactive power.
Well, this is where Covey introduces this idea of what he calls the circle of concern and the circle of influence.
Okay, the circles, yeah.
So the circle of concern, it's basically everything we worry about.
Oh, I have a big circle of concern.
Right. I mean, it's everything from like global issues to just those everyday little annoyances.
Yeah, everything.
Exactly. Now, the circle of influence,
Okay.
that's a little different. This circle includes the things we can actually do something about.
Where we have some control.
Exactly.
So proactive people, they don't waste time stressing about things they can't control.
They don't even go there.
They just focus on what they can impact.
They focus their energy on that circle of influence. It's
Yeah.
about, shifting your energy from worry to action, from blaming to responsibility.
Oh, that's huge.
It is.
Just that mindset shift alone could be huge. Instead of feeling like the victim, you become, what, like the author, the creator?
You become empowered. You become the one who makes change happen.
And that leads perfectly into habit, too. Begin with the end in mind.
Classic.
It's about having that clear vision, right, for your life. That sense of purpose that guides your decisions, your actions.
Otherwise, you're just drifting.
Exactly. It's like that saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
I love that one.
Yeah, and I feel like most of us, we don't actually take the time to define where we want to go.
It's true. We get so caught up in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
But Covey would say that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
He uses this metaphor of like two creations.
Too creative.
The mental creation and the physical creation.
Interesting.
So just like you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint.
No way.
Right. You shouldn't live your life without a plan.
So how do we create that blueprint? What does that look like in real life?
Well, Covey recommends writing what he calls a personal mission statement.
Okay, a mission statement.
Yeah, and it's basically a document where you outline your core values, your beliefs, and what you ultimately want to achieve in life.
So it's about getting clear on those values that will guide you towards your goals.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that is truly meaningful to you.
And that brings us to habit 3, right?
The one and only.
The first things first.
Putting it into action.
Oh, and this one feels so relevant, especially in our world today. It's so easy to get like swept away in the urgent but not important stuff.
Oh, tell me about it. The distractions, they're everywhere.
It's like we're constantly in this reactive mode, just putting out fires.
Oh, yeah, it's just reacting to whatever pops up.
But Covey's saying that that's not the path, right?
It's not the way to live an effective life, that's for sure.
So we need to shift from a focus on urgency to a focus on importance.
You got it.
It's about being intentional, making sure our actions line up with our long-term goals.
It's about making choices, not just reacting.
Think about it this way. You can't just schedule a 10-minute phone call to break up with someone you've been dating for years, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Some things just can't be squeezed into a time slot.
Right. Some things deserve more, they require more.
They require time and energy and attention.
And that's why Covey, he talks about being a quadrant 2 manager.
That's the sweet spot.
Someone who focuses on those activities that contribute to long-term goals, even if they're not screaming for attention right now.
Even if they're not on fire.
Exactly. So it's about being proactive with our time, making sure we're not just reacting to the tyranny of the urgent, but being intentional with how we spend our days, our weeks, our lives.
Because it all adds up.
It does, right? It all adds up. Now, all of this, being proactive, beginning with the end in mind, putting first things first, these habits, they form the foundation for what Covey calls private victory.
Mastering yourself.
Yes, it's about becoming independent and self-reliant.
The solid inner foundation.
And it's interesting because it seems like a lot of Covey's approach is kind of counterintuitive.
How so?
He's saying that to be successful in our relationships with others, to achieve what he calls public victory, we actually need to start with ourselves.
We have to get our own oxygen masks on first.
Exactly. Like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your own cup first.
It's not selfish, it's essential.
And that's where the next 3 habits come in.
Public victory, here we come.
They're all about public victory, building those effective interdependent relationships.
The good stuff.
Okay, so let's dive into those. Starting with habit 4. Think win-win.
My personal favorite.
I'll admit, this one always seemed, I don't know, a little too idealistic to me. Like, is a true win-win always possible? So is win-win always realistic? I feel like, I don't know, there are times when it's just not possible, right?
Yeah.
So find a solution that works for absolutely everyone.
You're right. It's not always easy. And Covey actually, he acknowledges that. He presents win-win as one paradigm, one option out of 6.
6. Okay, so there's win-win, and then what are the other ones?
Well, there's win-lose, which is, kind of a classic. One person gets their way at the expense of the other.
Right, in there.
And then you have lose-win, which is, well, you basically become a doormat.
Yeah, not ideal.
Not a good look. And then there's lose-lose.
Okay, so that's where everybody loses.
Pretty self-explanatory, right? And then Covey, he even points out that there's just plain win.
Win, just win.
Yeah, where you're so focused on getting what you want that you don't even stop to think about the other person's perspective.
So it's not even really about winning, it's just about them getting their way.
Exactly. But Covey's point is that in most cases, seeking that win-win outcome.
Okay.
It's not only the most ethical approach, but it's also the most effective in the long run.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wow.
But how do you make that happen in the real world?
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with people who, they just think it's got to be their way or the highway.
It's tough. Covey would say it starts with the relationship, right?
Okay, so build that foundation first.
Yeah, it's about consistently making deposits into that emotional bank account, showing genuine respect, courtesy, being willing to understand the other person's point of view.
So you kind of build up that trust equity.
Exactly. And then from that foundation, you can work together to find solutions that actually benefit everybody.
So it's not about being a pushover. It's not about compromising your own needs. It's about finding those creative solutions where everyone feels heard, everyone feels respected.
You got it. And that actually takes us to habit 5.
Which is?
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. We're often so focused on, getting our own point across that we don't actually listen to what the other person's trying to say.
It's like we're just waiting for our turn to talk, not really listening.
Covey says most of us listen with the intent to reply, not to understand.
Ooh, that's good, yeah.
And he uses this analogy. I love this one. He talks about the Indian talking stick.
Okay, I've heard of that.
The rule is whoever's holding the stick, they're the only one who can talk. Everyone else has to listen, and I mean really listen.
I love that. It's like such a simple idea, but so powerful because it takes the focus off of formulating your response.
Yeah.
And it puts it on actually hearing what the other person is saying, really understanding their perspective.
And then, and this is important, from that place of understanding, that's when real connection can happen.
That's when you can really start to work together.
Exactly. And that takes us to habit 6. Synergize.
Okay, synergize. So this is where the magic happens.
This is where it gets fun.
Right.
It's about recognizing that when you bring different people together, people with different views, different experiences, and they come together with respect, with this openness to really listen to each other.
Yeah.
They can create something truly amazing.
So it's not about compromise, where each person gives up a little something to reach some kind of, middle ground.
Not at all. It's about creating something new, something better, something that wouldn't have been possible if everyone thought the same way.
So the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
That's the idea. Covey describes it as 1 + 1 = 1. Or even 1 + 1 = 11. It's about recognizing that potential for something truly remarkable.
I love that. So how do we actually, how do we cultivate that synergy?
Covey would say it starts with valuing differences, recognizing that another person's perspective, even if it's different from your own, can actually enrich your understanding.
So it's not about trying to convince everyone to see it your way. It's about being open to seeing it from multiple perspectives.
And from that openness, from that willingness to embrace those different viewpoints, that's where the really creative, innovative solutions can come from.
It makes you realize how limiting it can be to always be surrounded by people who think exactly like you do.
Groupthink can kill creativity.
It's in those differences, in those different perspectives, that we often find the most interesting solutions, the most creative breakthroughs. Wow, this has been, I don't know about you, but this has been a lot.
A lot of good stuff.
We've covered 6 habits, and they're also, meaty. There's so much to unpack with each one. Is there anything else we need to hit before we wrap up?
One more crucial piece. Habit 7, sharpen the saw.
Okay, sharpen the saw. I always like that
It's
one.
a good one. It's about renewal.
Okay.
Think of it this way. You can't keep cutting down trees with a dull axe, right?
Yeah, you'll wear yourself out.
You need to take time to sharpen the blade. And it's the same with us. This habit is all about taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
It's about making sure that you don't burn out, that you can actually show up fully in all areas of your life. It's kind of, would you say, the most overlooked habit.
It's easy to get caught up in the doing, and
Yeah.
trying to be productive, achieve those
Right,
goals,
you want to check things off the list.
that we forget to invest in ourselves. But Covey, he argues that renewal, that's essential for long-term effectiveness, for fulfillment. It's about creating that sustainable rhythm of, work and rest, giving and receiving.
And he breaks it down into 4 dimensions, right?
Uh,
The physical, spiritual, mental, and social or emotional. Could you maybe just elaborate on those a bit for our listener?
Absolutely. So the physical dimension, that's the most straightforward, right? Taking care of your body, eating well, exercising, getting enough sleep,
The basics.
the basics, but so important. Now, the spiritual dimension, that's about connecting with something bigger than yourself, whether that's through meditation, prayer, spending time in nature, or even, engaging in meaningful work.
Finding what feeds your soul.
Exactly. Then there's the mental dimension. This is about keeping your mind sharp, reading, learning new things, having those challenging conversations that really make you think. And then last but not least, the social emotional dimension. That's all about your relationships.
Nurturing those connections.
Exactly. Connecting with loved ones, building community, contributing to something larger than yourself.
So it's about this holistic approach to well-being. Recognizing that all of these different aspects of ourselves are interconnected.
That's all connected.
It's about creating a life that is not just productive, but sustainable, fulfilling. A life you don't need a vacation from.
And Covey would argue that this habit, sharpen the saw, this is what ultimately allows us to continue moving along that upward spiral of growth.
They're going up.
It's by taking care of ourselves in all areas of our lives that we become more effective, more resilient, more capable of creating the life we truly desire.
I love that. So we covered a lot of ground today, 7 habits, lots of great metaphors, practical tips. But I hope our listeners walk away with this. Effectiveness, it's not about just doing more, it's about being more.
Here, here.
It's about aligning your actions with your values, building strong, healthy relationships, and taking care of yourself, the whole package.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress. Every step you take in the direction of these habits, every effort you make to live a more principle-centered life, that's a win.
Love that. Well said. This has been an incredible deep dive into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We explored those paradigms, the importance of character, and the transformative power of these habits to create a more fulfilling, more impactful life. If there's one thing we hope you take away from it today, it's this. You have the power within you to choose a different path to create the life you want. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.